We're always hearing that exercise is good for you, right?
Right.
But get ready to have your mind blown because it's not just about like physical health,
Yeah.
working out.
Yeah.
It's like a superpower for your brain.
It really is.
So we're diving into Spark today by
Mhm.
John Ratey to like really understand the science behind it all.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how interconnected our brains and bodies really are.
Yeah.
And this book highlights how our brains actually evolved along with our need to move.
Mm.
You think about it. Our ancestors, they were constantly active.
Right. Yeah.
And that really shaped how our brains developed.
Okay, that makes sense. But like, how does that apply to us now?
Right.
We're not out like hunting for our dinner every day.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
Our modern, mostly sedentary lifestyles, they're a mismatch for our genes.
Right.
And that has some pretty surprising consequences.
Like what?
Yeah.
What does it mean? Like our brains aren't as sharp because we're sitting all day?
It's more complex than that. But the book really dives into how this mismatch can affect our brain chemistry.
Okay.
It's not just about, feeling good after a workout.
Right.
There are specific neurochemicals at play, like serotonin and dopamine, that are crucial for things like mood, attention, even motivation.
Oh, wow.
And exercise directly influences those levels.
So it's like exercise is fine-tuning our brains then.
Exactly.
Okay. I remember the book mentioning something called BDNF.
Yes.
And I'm not going to lie, that one kind of went over my head.
BDNF, it stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Okay.
It's fascinating.
Okay.
You can think of it as like a support system for your neurons.
Okay.
It helps brain cells grow and survive,
Uh-huh.
almost like fertilizer for your brain.
But Spark goes deep into how exercise can help us fight back against that stress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When we're stressed, our bodies pump out cortisol, right?
Right.
Which is fine in small doses.
Uh-huh.
But when we're chronically stressed, that cortisol builds up.
Yeah.
And it can actually become toxic to the brain.
Oh, that's scary.
It is a little scary.
So is exercise like an antidote to that cortisol buildup then?
It can be a powerful tool.
Oh.
Exercise not only helps to lower cortisol levels,
Hmm.
but it also increases levels of another hormone called ANP.
ANP.
Yes, ANP, which actually helps to regulate that stress response.
Interesting.
So it's like exercise is giving our brains a double defense against stress.
Wow. So exercise is like training our brains to be more resilient,
Right.
almost like building up our mental muscles.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about when that stress turns into full-blown anxiety?
Yeah.
Does exercise help with that too?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The book highlights research showing that exercise is as effective as some medications
Really?
in treating anxiety and even panic disorders.
Wow.
It's not about masking the symptoms. It's about actually retraining the brain
Okay.
to distinguish between real threats and perceived threats.
So it's teaching our brains to chill out a bit,
Yeah,
not overreact to every little thing.
exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
And Spark also talks about how exercise can help people struggling with depression too, right?
that's right. Depression, from a neurological perspective, can be seen as a weakening of connections in the brain. In some cases, the cortex can even shrink
Really?
in individuals with chronic depression.
That's a little alarming.
It is.
But the book is suggesting that exercise can actually help to reverse that.
It can. Exercise promotes what's called neuroplasticity,
Okay.
which is the brain's incredible ability to rewire and adapt.
Wow.
It also promotes neurogenesis.
Neurogenesis.
Yeah, the creation of new brain cells,
Whoa.
primarily in the hippocampus,
Okay.
which is a region of the brain that's key for learning and memory.
So it's like exercise is breathing new life into a depressed brain.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Wow. Okay, so we've got stress-related anxiety reduction, fighting depression.
Yeah.
What can't exercise do?
Right.
I'm guessing the book also talks about ADHD.
You're right. Spark makes a compelling case for using exercise as a tool to manage ADHD symptoms.
Okay.
And it comes back to those neurotransmitters we talked about earlier.
Good.
Dopamine and norepinephrine.
Right.
They're crucial for focus and impulse control,
Uh-huh.
which are often areas of challenge for people with ADHD.
And exercise boosts those neurotransmitters.
It does.
So is it like a natural alternative to medication?
It can be a powerful tool,
Okay.
but it's important to note that medication is often a necessary part of managing ADHD.
Right.
However, Spark presents some fascinating research showing that exercise can significantly improve focus, attention, and impulse control for those with ADHD.
That's incredible. It sounds like exercise is providing the brain with the tools it needs to function better. But the book goes even further, right? It explores the connection between exercise and addiction.
You're catching on to the key themes here.
Yeah.
The book dives into the neurological underpinnings of addiction,
Okay.
highlighting the role of the brain's reward system,
Mm.
which is heavily influenced by dopamine.
Right.
You know, addiction kind of hijacks this reward system,
Right.
creating this intense craving for that substance or behavior.
Right.
Exercise can be a game changer because it offers an alternative pathway to activate that reward system.
So instead of like reaching for that unhealthy thing, we can rewire our brains to crave a runner's high.
It's more nuanced than that,
Okay.
but exercise does provide a really healthy way to experience pleasure and satisfaction. It's not just about willpower. It's about giving the brain a new positive way to feel good.
This is blowing my mind. It seems like exercise is this incredible force that impacts so many aspects of our mental well-being.
Really?
Does Spark touch on any other benefits like for women's health?
Right. It does. The book talks about how hormonal fluctuations throughout a woman's life, from PMS to menopause, can be challenging. And exercise has been shown to help regulate these fluctuations, promoting a more balanced hormonal state.
So exercise is like a natural hormone balancer.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I bet this ties into how exercise impacts aging as well.
Absolutely. The book makes a strong argument for the importance of exercise in protecting the brain from age-related decline.
Okay.
It can help to maintain cognitive function, improve memory,
Wow.
may even increase brain volume in older adults.
So exercise is like a fountain of youth for our brains then.
In a way.
Rewinding the clock with every workout.
It's a good way to put it.
This is also fascinating, but I know there's more to unpack here.
There is. One of the most interesting parts of Spark is the story of Naperville, Illinois,
Yes.
and how they completely revolutionized their approach to physical education.
Yeah, that's the part that really caught my eye too.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear more about it.
I know, it's fascinating.
But maybe we should take a quick pause.
Yeah.
And then come back to dive into that Naperville story.
Great idea. All right, so Naperville, Illinois.
Okay.
It's not just some random town in Illinois.
Right.
It's like a real-life testament to how powerful movement can be. Not just for like individual health, but for a whole community.
Yeah, in the book, this Naperville thing, it almost sounded too good to be true.
I know.
They basically revamped their entire approach to gym class, right?
They did.
Yeah.
It wasn't about dodgeball and picking teams anymore.
Yeah.
They shifted the focus to fitness,
Okay.
really understanding heart rate, empowering those students to take charge of their own well-being.
And the results were amazing.
They were.
Like the book mentioned how obesity rates dropped significantly,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Right.
But what really surprised me was how it impacted academics.
That's what makes Naperville so compelling. The students didn't just get healthier.
Right.
Their academic performance went through the roof. They started outperforming kids from wealthier districts on standardized tests. Even though Naperville spent less money per student.
It's like they unlocked some secret to success.
I know, it's amazing.
And it all started with gym class.
It did.
The book says their 8th graders even outperformed students in countries like China and Japan in math and science.
Yeah, back in 1999, they ranked 6th in the world in math.
Wow.
And 1st in science.
That's amazing.
It totally challenges this idea that academics have to come at the expense of physical activity.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the book really brings all this to life by like focusing on the people involved.
Yeah.
And it all started with this gym teacher named Phil Lawler.
Yes, Phil Lawler. He noticed that kids were spending way too much time standing around in gym class waiting for their turn to play. He realized that traditional PE classes just weren't promoting fitness or teaching them healthy habits.
Yeah.
That would last a lifetime.
So he decided to shake things up.
He did.
And I love that he started with something so simple. Yeah. Making those kids run a mile every week.
You can imagine the pushback.
Oh, yeah.
Some parents, even doctors, weren't thrilled.
Really?
But Lawler was convinced that regular exercise was crucial.
Yeah.
He persisted.
I like that. And then he brings in another game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Heart rate monitors.
A heart rate monitor.
I would have never thought of that for gym class.
It was genius.
Yeah.
Suddenly, effort became measurable. It didn't matter if you were the fastest runner.
Right.
What mattered was how hard you were working.
Okay.
So kids who might have been overlooked in like a traditional gym class were now getting recognized for their effort.
It's amazing how something so simple can have such a big impact.
It's true.
It leveled the playing field, helped those students understand that pushing themselves, even if they weren't naturally athletic, was what really mattered.
Exactly. And the effects extended far beyond just gym class. It's like the whole school. The whole community started to embrace this fitness-first mindset.
The book shares some great stories about individual students,
It does.
like Jesse Wolfram.
Yeah. Jesse's a perfect example of how empowering this new approach was. She was a self-described nerd.
Okay.
But through kayaking, she found this passion for kayaking.
Yeah.
A sport that challenged her both physically and mentally.
It helped her, like, discover a sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
That went way beyond just, like, her academic achievements.
She did.
Helped her to overcome shyness.
Right.
And even become a leader.
It's a testament to how physical activity can really build confidence.
Yeah.
Help us discover those hidden talents.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just about individual success.
Right.
Spark highlights how Naperville used fitness to create this stronger sense of community.
They did. They incorporated activities that required teamwork and cooperation.
Okay.
Helping students from different social groups to connect and build relationships.
That's great.
They even used dance to teach leadership skills.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It just shows how movement can be this powerful tool for, like, fostering social and emotional learning.
Right. It created this more inclusive and supportive environment for everyone.
Yeah.
And the best part, the lessons learned in Naperville have inspired similar programs all over the country.
Like the one in Titusville, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Led by Vicki McCord.
Vicki McCord.
She took that same fitness-first approach and totally transformed her school district,
Right.
which had been struggling, into this model for both physical and academic excellence.
It's incredibly inspiring.
It is.
But it's important to remember that not every school has the resources to implement a program like Naperville's.
Yeah, that's true. Not every school can afford heart rate monitors.
Right.
Or has teachers as passionate and dedicated as Phil Lawler.
Yeah.
But I think the takeaway here is, like, the mindset shift.
The mindset shift.
Seeing exercise as this, like, essential part of a well-rounded life.
Exactly. And even small changes can make a big difference. Spark emphasizes that even short bursts of activity can boost brain function and mood.
So it's not about training for a marathon.
No.
It's about finding ways to incorporate movement into our everyday lives.
Exactly.
Even if it's just like taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Right. Walk during your lunch break.
Yeah.
Dance to your favorite music. Anything that gets your heart pumping and your brain engaged.
That's great advice.
Now, speaking of brain function, I think it's time to dig into how exercise specifically impacts those mental processes that we rely on every day.
You mean things like attention-focused memory?
Yes.
Even creativity?
Exactly. How does something we usually associate with our bodies have such a profound impact on these, like, higher-level cognitive functions?
Yeah.
That's what we'll explore next.
Okay, so we talked about how exercise can help us, like, manage stress and anxiety, even boost our mood. But I'm really curious about, like, the connection between exercise and our actual thinking processes.
That's where things get really exciting. The book goes beyond just saying, like, oh, exercise is good for your brain.
Right.
It digs into the specific ways that exercise impacts our cognitive function.
Okay.
It's not just about increased blood flow. Exercise actually triggers all these molecular changes that enhance how our brains work.
So how does that actually happen?
Well, remember BDNF?
Brain fertilizer.
Yes, brain fertilizer. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah, the one that helps brain cells grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exercise boosts BDNF.
Okay.
Which then helps to strengthen those connections between neurons. And those connections, they're essential for learning and forming new memories.
So it's like building stronger pathways for information to travel.
That's a great way to put it. But it goes even further than that.
Okay.
Spark talks about how exercise also promotes neurogenesis.
What?
Neurogenesis. It's the birth of new brain cells.
Wait, new brain cells? I thought we were stuck with, like, what we were born with.
For a long time, scientists believe that too. But more recent research has shown that exercise can actually stimulate the growth of new neurons.
That's incredible.
It is. It's revolutionary because it means that we have more potential for learning and adapting than we previously thought.
So exercise is literally giving our brains, like, a cellular makeover.
It kind of is.
Sign me up.
Right.
What about those, like, everyday struggles, though? Like trying to focus when we're constantly bombarded with distractions?
Right, yeah.
Can exercise really help with that?
Absolutely. The book highlights studies showing how exercise, particularly aerobic activity, increases those levels of dopamine and norepinephrine.
Right.
And those are two neurotransmitters that are crucial for regulating attention. They're actually the same neurotransmitters targeted by ADHD medications.
Oh, wow. It's like a natural way to improve focus and concentration.
It can be very helpful, Spark. Spark shares this anecdote about a psychiatry professor who noticed that his own ADHD symptoms were getting worse when he had to stop running because of an injury. Medication helped, but he realized that exercise played this huge role in managing his attention challenges.
It's like exercise gave his brain the boost it needed to stay on track. So we've covered memory-focused learning. What about creativity, though?
Yes.
Is there a connection there, too?
This is where it gets really fascinating. The book explores how exercise can enhance creativity by promoting a state called transient hypofrontality.
Okay, I need you to break that one down for me.
Essentially, it means that exercise temporarily reduces the activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is that part of our brain that's responsible for things like planning and decision-making, inhibiting impulses. So it's like giving that part of our brain a little break.
So by quieting the prefrontal cortex, we're giving other parts of our brain a chance to, like, step up.
Exactly. And that break from our usual thought patterns can open up space for new ideas and insights to kind of emerge. It's like shaking up a snow globe. You get a fresh perspective when things settle back down.
I love that analogy. So if you're feeling stuck creatively, maybe the answer is to go for a walk or hit the gym.
It's definitely worth a try. The book mentions how so many creative breakthroughs have happened during or after physical activity. Whether it's a walk in nature, or a run through the park, even just a quick stretch break. Think about all those famous thinkers and artists who were known for their long walks. Their bodies were in motion while their minds were making those creative leaps.
This has been so eye-opening. It really changes how we think about exercise. It's not just about physical health. It's this powerful tool for enhancing all those mental abilities. From improving memory to boosting creativity. And the best part is, exercise is accessible to everyone.
It is. You don't need fancy equipment or a gym membership to reap the benefits.
Exactly. A walk in the park, dancing in your living room, a few minutes of stretching.
It all counts.
Every bit of movement counts. It's all about finding those activities that you enjoy. Making them a regular part of your life, Spark, makes a really compelling case for prioritizing movement, not just for our bodies, but for our minds.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with one question for our listeners. What small change can you make today to incorporate more movement into your routine?
Remember, every step you take, every stretch, every jump is a step towards a healthier and more vibrant brain.
I love that.
And who knows, maybe that next brilliant idea will come to you while you're on the move.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the amazing connection between exercise and the brain.
It's been a pleasure.